Hello, welcome to the It's All Good show. Lucas here for a chat. My name is Denise Belil, and I'm a serenity expert and positive intelligence specialist. The reason that I do these shows, it's called It's All Good, it's because I love to help people get more peace and serenity in their life. And it's my favorite cup. It's all good. And when I found that cup, initially I liked it because it was big and orange. And then I paid attention to what was written on it. I was like, wow, it's all good. It's something that I already integrated in my life. And why it's all good is because you can't change anything that happened in the past. So all you can say is like, hey, it's all good. Oh, turn off your phone. And you can't change anything that's going to be in the future. So I can't predict the future. So it's all good. So all I can do is be here in the present and be happy, be completely satisfied with my situation as I am, and even grateful to the extreme of appreciating everything that's around me. So also, one more thing I wanted to mention is if you're watching this video, just give me a thumbs up. If you're watching it on YouTube, subscribe to my channel or give me, thumbs up as what you like this video, and click on the little bell so you'll be notified next time I put one of other video on my YouTube channel. If you want to comment in the comment, say hi, ask question to me or my guest as we go through, that'll be awesome. We'll be happy to answer your question as we go, and also on replay. So we're going to be notified whenever you put a comment. And if we see, we can answer your question, we'll be happy to do that. Talking about my guest, today I have Robyn McTague as my guest. She's an amazing woman, and the subject of our talk today is the key to success, a new paradigm of motivation. So what it's all about? Well, it's whether you are an employee, entrepreneur, or small business owner. If you are also your own team, and if your own team is not engaged, it affects the bottom line. Yes, you know that, right? Entrepreneur and business owners are shaking their head right now. If people are not engaged, you're losing money on the side. It's just going out the door. And so we can tap into our own personal and team motivation, engagement, and clarity increases, and the organization thrives. So we're going to talk about that today. But who is she? Who's Robyn McTague? Well, she's a published author, a writer, a speaker, and the creator of a life of choice coaching and consulting. She helps entrepreneurs and small business owners transform growing pain and create a culture of connection, clarity, and success. Her personalized system brings practical solutions to increase the dynamic connection between personal and organizational motivation. Some words sometime, poof, catch me. That's okay. It's all good. Her area of expertise include relationship, psychology, motivation, conflict resolution, and Enneagram and motivation. So let's welcome to the stage Robyn McTague. Welcome, Robyn. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having this platform for people to learn more about what other people do.
Yeah, I feel that it's nice to just to explore new people and to give a stage to people to express themselves. I feel it's so important to give space, as I said, and what I found is there's enough for everyone. Some people might want to work with me, some people might want to work with you, some people might want to work with both of us because we do things slightly different. And I feel that it's very important that we support one another in any area, because it's definitely the way that we can all grow with helping one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And things change. What we need changes. And that's actually why motivation changes often, as within 2 years sometimes. So if we think about what motivated us 5 years or 10 years ago. It's different. So our needs change over time.
Yeah, tell me about the paradigm for motivation. Like that's the subject, the main theme. So what is that all about?
Yeah, so often people have seen these models of motivation and they talk about internal and external motivation. And if you really think about it, can you make anyone do anything?
Mm-mm.
No. So there's no external motivation. It all comes from within. So that's the number one key. When we understand what drives our behavior and what gives us energy, because motivation equals energy. That's really what it is. If you think about it, if I have energy, I'm here, I'm talking to you and doing things. If not, I'm not motivated. I'm watching TV for hours on end. So that's the first key, is really understanding that it comes from within, and that self-awareness and knowledge will help us to gain the energy, or to see when we're slipping and going into demotivation, what we can do to bring it back up. The other, and the other piece is the reward system that people like. And the old paradigm was the carrot and the stick, and everyone was motivated by money. And that's not true. And that's being really seen. There's more and more articles about that, why people leave jobs and money is down there. But for some people, it is the money. Other people, it's not. So if we know what is motivating to us and what success looks like for us, then we can be in alignment and move towards what we want, rather than just kind of being buffeted about by things that are going on in our life external to us.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of the reward. I'm reading right now James Clear book, Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
And I found like I'll make a whole segment on that one day, but I like the idea of the reason why you want to do something, why you want to make some changes, and how you can integrate that into your life. And it's not so much habit, it becomes a lifestyle. It becomes who you are as an individual, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
motivation, and that's I found for motivation for me is becoming the person that is doing the new habit, and not so much just doing the new habit. That's my motivation, right?
Yeah, and it's how we feel about things. And so often other assessments out there don't give us that insight into how we're feeling about things. But really, that's what gives us the energy, like you're talking about. When that's part of who you are,
Yeah.
then that's just part of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it was giving an example on let's say somebody is trying to stop smoking, right? People say, I'm trying to stop. And somebody offered them a cigarette, and then they will say, oh no, thanks, I'm trying to stop. So that's one scenario. The second scenario is somebody hand him a cigarette to say, oh, I'm not a smoker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I stopped smoking, I'm not a smoker. So right now the second scenario is that that person identified themselves as a non-smoker. As of the first scenario, they're still a smoker. They're just trying to stop smoking, right?
Yeah.
So if you become the personality, and for the second person that says, I'm not a smoker, that's his motivation, is now he's identifying himself as a non-smoker, and a non-smoker wouldn't pick up a cigarette, right?
Yeah, and we all know, or most of us know, about the word try. If you try to do something, is it going to happen? No, it's
Yeah.
usually an out. It's an excuse for us.
Absolutely. So I've talked in your definition of your topic today, and the big word I had a hard time saying, like how does personal and organizational motivation works together? So how do you put that together to help companies and people?
So personally, we talk about the 3 E's of personal motivation, which is engagement, enthusiasm, and energy. And then on the side for the corporation or the company, we have the 3 P's, which is profit, productivity, and performance. So those are in direct relationship with each other. As one goes up, the other goes up. As one goes down, the other goes down.
Okay.
So what we need to do is look at how can we measure that, both from the individual and the team perspective. So if you have a larger organization, you have the whole company, and then you can have the sub teams. So looking at, are they feeling energized by what they're doing? What are the places where there may be some conflict between people within themselves, or just those places where there can be challenges with communication and different things? Because what we've found is that different people have different needs for communication. If you look, people who look at a landing page, for example, there's those that go straight to the bottom to see what's the bottom line. And there's others that it's like, oh, this is fascinating, I'm going to read everything. So if I'm your manager and I just give you the bottom line, but you're the kind of person that needs lots of information, consistent information, you're not going to be happy because you don't have enough. You're feeling like you're not getting what you need. We can actually get those needs met, then we have more success. And between the members too. So for example, your team may be a bunch of creators doing something, maybe video games or something. So they are really great at doing that. Do you need someone else on the team that needs to be a manager or a supervisor that has a bit more of a role with directing and taking responsibility? So if you don't have the people on the team that have some of those motivators, then things can fall apart because no one's taking care of that.
Yeah.
So you have to really look at the individual people and the team makeup based on the context of what's going on within that team and the company at large and how they interact with each other. So for example, you have a receptionist, and if they have a lot of relationship type of motivators, great, because that's what they love to do, like to talk to people and spend time with them. You have someone else that is more about their lifestyle, and we call that one the builder. They're out there wanting to, how can I get farther ahead? And it's just like, don't ask me all these questions, and I just want to get going and do things. So that person may feel slighted, and then these misunderstandings happen. So we talk about personality conflicts. Often it's motivational conflicts.
Okay, because their motivators are different from one person to the other. So there's no communication between the two because they don't talk the same language, really. That's what it is, right?
Yeah. So it's bringing in that neutral language and how we can have more understanding of each other so that we can see, oh, that's just what's important to them. So the example I use when I work corporately is I was working full-time, teaching meditation on the side, and my lunchtime was for my fitness. That's where I could fit it in. And I could leave jobs and move departments because I was so focused on learning and growing. That's what motivated me. And the people that wanted more of my time that I didn't have, I could get irritated because it's like, I just don't have time. I'd feel bad because it's like, yes, I know you like to go to lunch a lot, and I'd go to maybe the Christmas or some of the higher ones, but I really felt uncomfortable. And I would see those people as kind of needy of my time. So I kind of come back and then realizing, doing my own map and seeing, oh, that's just how they connect. They like to connect that way. So if I had, like, I was always polite and we still had good relationship, but if I wanted to build more relationship with those people, then it would be important for me to know that and say, this is what I can do. Let's maybe have a coffee once a month or something so that both get our needs met and understand each other and what's important to them.
Oh, wonderful. So tell me, so that's a good example of the answer of my next question, but when you start working with a company, so how does that, what do you do with them? What's the process of them once you are with them, and how do you go about to describe, to start the work with them and do those. You mentioned something about the motivation map. So tell me the process of, like, how do you raise the company profit and people connecting with one another and everything? So can you do like a quick study, like a case study of how that works?
So basically, what I do is go in and say, let's do that baseline to see where people are at and how things are going. And so that initial assessment, usually it's setting it up, whether it's a video or a call with people, to say, this is the process. You're going to receive this 10 to 15 minute online assessment. And so everyone does that. And then I get the results and do the different calculations and different things, the background work, and then offer a presentation. And it depends on the company, but my baseline is what kind of workshop or something can we have with the staff so they can learn about each other, because that's where the key is. Once they understand each other and have that kind of neutral languaging, then they can build that team together, right? Team is together, everyone achieves more. So instead of these singular people just working away at their desk, there's that building of connection. And so your efficiencies come in, the energy increases, people are more engaged. So then you can also look at who are the people, what are the roles that I have within that team or within the company. So if you're bringing people in, you're down to the last few people and you understand what the role is that you want, then I can do the map and say, okay, this person, maybe you're getting someone in sales, looking at their profile to see, is that something that would suit them? Are they going to get energized by that? So it helps to have that right fit. Or, often sometimes it can be people when they're leaving and it's like, well, why are you leaving? And by doing the map and understanding, what was going on, then that can clear up a lot of stuff. And to me, it brings a lot of integrity and honesty into the organization, because we know culture is such an important thing. And when we build those connections and that feeling of connection, plus understanding that I have value here, the other people have value, what we see and how we see it might be different, but we're all working towards that common goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so often employers will throw money at training, for example, and it doesn't necessarily have the outcome that they want. They think this is going to be the fix. And instead it's like, let's do the map, see where people are at. Then we can look at the reward system for those particular different kind of motivators and say, what can we implement that will help us to grow together and really focus on that, making our organization successful. Because when people buy in and they have that engagement, everyone wants that and they know it's going to support them and they're going to stay longer because they're happier in those situations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's basically the assessment, then the debrief, and then seeing where the organization is at and customizing it. So for example, if you have a new manager and they're just learning about how to work with people, maybe they were really good at their job before, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have some of the skills and need some more support around how they support their people. So coming in, working with that manager for a couple of months to help him really bring that team or his new area together. Or it could be, bringing in, because I've also trained in conflict resolution, maybe a workshop on different ways to communicate and how to deal with the conflict and more understanding. Once they've got the basis of the map, then that's going to build on those skills.
Mm-hmm.
And if they want to go deeper with their employees, they can even do an Enneagram workshop and even find out from a deeper level, how they view things and how to work with some of those ways that we can kind of bring up an irritation because we don't understand ourselves or other people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if I understand well, so what you do, and do you mostly work with like high level management. Like you wouldn't do that. Let's say it's a company of 20 people. You wouldn't do that with all the employees, would you? Or would you, or you would do it with the management and then they can trickle down their knowledge. And so it,
Best is to do it with everyone.
okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That can definitely transform.
yeah. Yeah, because we all have our different roles. For some managers, like what's important for them to see how this will give them information, maybe they have an assistant. So doing that a map with the manager and the assistant and seeing how that works together and seeing their differences and how they view things. So that can be a starting point, and then seeing the value and then bringing it maybe to, depending on the size of the organization, it could be the whole company if it's small enough, or maybe one team, and seeing, yeah, this is really valuable, let's roll it out to everyone. And then you can have an overall organization map, and then the individual groups would have their own map as well to see, what drives this team, what's important to us.
Okay. And so you mentioned earlier about the example of the new manager coming in and then maybe doing some conflict resolution. So how does the map address potential conflict? So how does working with the map can work towards, like addressing that?
Yeah, so the first piece is the individual.
Mm,
And so for me, we have 3 different clusters of, there's 9 motivators, 3 within each cluster. So we have the relationship,
mm-hmm,
which is kind of, if you think about relationships, they build over time. So these are the people that like the lots of communication, not as quick to change, so less change friendly, unless they have those different things and can see the value of it. Then we have the achievement. So these are the, let's get things done kind of people and motivators around that.
yeah.
And then we have the growth. And having worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, I would say 90+% of entrepreneurs are high growth. These are the shiny object syndrome people. And it's just, they like that freedom. They don't want to be hemmed in. And so even within an organization, it could be, sales or something like that, where people are out in the field and they don't have those same restrictions. So that works for them. But if I have our top 3 motivators account for about 60 to 70% of our behavior, and if
Mm-hmm.
we have 2 that conflict in the top, then we can feel pulled in different directions. So say I have the builder that wants to have that above average lifestyle, so making money and having that lifestyle is important. But then I have the searcher, and they want to make a difference. So often these are people that, work in nonprofits, that kind of thing. A lot of entrepreneurs too, right? We see this growth in the self-actualization that's changed over time with our society and with motivation. So it's making a difference. So say I have those 2, and it's like I'm evaluating opportunities and I don't realize why I'm feeling pulled in 2 different directions. If I say, okay, now I see how these conflict, because one just wants to do it for the sake of doing it, one wants it for being seen or moving towards that, making the money for the lifestyle. So what's more important to me right now? How can I take care of both of these motivators and kind of pull them apart? So maybe right now I do need to make the money. So I decide 80% of my time is really focused on that motivator.
Mm-hmm.
The other one right now, I still need to have that to feel energized. So I will maybe do some pro bono work or do a something for not being paid. So just
Uh-huh. No,
volunteer,
yeah.
for
Yeah.
example, and just for the sake of doing it, and let my other part of me that wants to do those other things say, these are for this. And, so separating them out and making those decisions based on the needs. And again, that can change over time. So
Mm-hmm.
or maybe I say this month I do this, or whatever it is. So making sure that both of them are met and seeing how they can work together.
Yeah, and I can see by doing that, you first of all, you bring clarity into your purpose by being like planning it out instead of being pulled, right? Like let's say you want to do some volunteer work and then you end up doing too much, and then but you do want to make money, but then you're being torn between the two. But if you really allocate it and you say, okay, that's my 80% of making money, and I'm going to put in my schedule to do this and that for my pro bono or volunteer work, or helping an organization with what I can do to help them and stuff like that, then you know that you're both, it might not be 50-50 because you need to make money, for example, in the example you gave, but that's allowed them to have that balance. So I can still call it balance, because then they're not feeling pulled that you do too much of one, not enough, because it's planned. It's in their agenda, and they're working towards actually doing that. And in the future, I guess, depending on where people are, but then they can slowly transform. If they want to do a philanthropist and they want to do more giving away, then because they've made the money and stuff, then they can rebalance into the other side. But they know they choose that, as opposed to being pulled from one direction to the other, right? Did I understood well? Or
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same within a team. So what depending what the team is there for. So one of the achievement motivators is the expert. So we want to be really good at what we do and do a lot of research, different things. And I had a client, a mom actually bought it for her daughter because her daughter was away for school for the first time. So new setting, learning, and her friend and her expert were both high. And so she's away from her friends, so she wasn't feeling motivated because she didn't have those connections as much. And she was learning, so she didn't feel like the expert. So she was ready to drop out of school. She was a nurse. And when we saw that and did her debrief, I talked about what things she could do, like asked her, are you connecting with people in your current program? Is there someone you could ask out for a walk? Different things to bring that. And for the expert, is there one area that you're learning you can go deeper on your own, so you can feel like more of an expert and kind of have that taken care of? And then it was really important for her to see, what kind of nursing she wanted to go in. So if she wants that relationship, she needs to be working in a team where people are connecting, not like an ER where people are, in and out and change because it's a high stress job and they don't necessarily stay in there. She wouldn't be happy. So these are some of the things and areas that we can look at, is to see, based on your role, based on what motivates you, is that being met? And when we see that drop in energy, looking at your map and saying, this isn't being met right now, what do I need to do right now to change that?
Yeah, that's a great example of an application. I can understand that on an individual basis, and then that give me a greater idea of how that can be implemented on the business side, on an organization. So I imagine, like, what is your experience on when you integrate something like that in an organization? Like, that must help them grow their business, like save money and then have a greater return on investment. So how does that work? Like, what's your experience in that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, just the simple way of how you run your organization. So, looking at where you're spending your money. Are you spending it on training? Are you actually giving rewards? Are you using people in the right way so that they are energized and they are more productive? And are we growing as a team? And doing that ongoing evaluation and annual review, so that we're seeing how we're doing that, looking at our processes. For some people, the onboarding, well, I would say any organization onboarding is important, but so often we don't think about that as one of the keys, especially for certain motivators, depending, maybe you need to do something a bit more in depth or something to allow that particular person to really feel the value. Like maybe for the relationship people, it's like learning about everyone in the organization and feeling that connection to the whole organization, than rather than just the person or the couple of people that they're working with. So, we spend, so many organizations have these lunches and different things. And for some people, that's great. Others people, it's not.
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
that's one of the keys is, how are we using our resources, which are both people and money? And how can we, especially with hybrid now, right? How can we make sure that people are connecting? And that's important to look at. And then over time, you can see, like, how is that coming out on the bottom line? This is what we were doing before. Now we're seeing these different efficiencies, more productivity, more connection, and people are staying, right? When you look at hiring, it's, what is it, 1.5 times a person's salary to have to bring someone new in. So if you have the right fit, then you're going to have that long-term employee, and you're not spending retraining and all of the different things that comes with hiring a new person.
Yeah, it is expensive to bring new people in organization, for sure.
And then that growth factor, like so often when we start to grow, it's like they're so focused on getting things done and the efficiency, and the people stuff falls by the wayside. So this is a way to look back at that and bring that in, so the organization can grow in all ways, and not, if we grow too much in one way, something else gets left behind. And we see that with personal motivators as well. So if I'm so focused on the growth, what's happening with the achievement and the relationship?
You lose the people. Yeah.
And the team profile shows all of that. So it's a really great thing to look at, to be able to say, and this is our percentage of motivation. Where are we? Are we in that zone that we really need to do something quick, or people are going to start leaving, or are we doing really well? So where are we on that scale?
And as you mentioned, you propose to do reevaluation yearly, just so, because the company shift and people mindset shift and motivation shift, depending on what's going on in people's life and all that, so you just redo an evaluation yearly in order to see where people are at.
Yeah, and that, once you have a baseline, then you can start to look at the money factor as well. And you can't see that necessarily right up front until you have that baseline. But then when you look in a year or 2 years, you can see where have those changes been. You can actually do some calculations and come up and show the benefits.
Oh, nice, cool. And as we're coming up to a wrap, but so I'm just wondering, like, through your talk, you talked about you could work with individual and companies. So who is your ideal client? So who, like, people are listening, they can identify themselves, like, who should contact you, and do you have a way for people to contact you, and what do you have to offer?
Sure. Yeah. So with the small businesses, I really like those growing companies, whether it's 5 or 50, that's kind of my sweet spot, is because at that point, people have more capacity because they're in that growth phase and they're interested.
Yeah.
And for the individuals, entrepreneurs I love working with entrepreneurs, because when they see what a benefit and what they've been doing, and how they're either not building relationships or what's getting in the way of building relationships, because we know everything is relationships, right? And especially as an entrepreneur, and I had to learn that for myself with my friend, and say, yeah, I need to put some things in place to keep those connections going. It wasn't something that was top of mind. So, I mean, even in a team, that could be the case, right? It's like, well, they'll just be there when I need them. And that's fine in our family, but when it comes to business, we need to have that place where we continue the connections.
Yeah.
Or,
Put fertilizer on the relationship, because I mean, when you work with people, it's important that that's how team grows. And that, because when people, you nurture this relationship, then you develop some type of a bond, that whether it's just a bond within the company, as employee, employers, and management, and all that, and they respect more one another, I guess, when they have that link with the relationship.
absolutely. And having that understanding. So, another one I find with entrepreneurs is the star. So, when we have a motivator that's really low, we don't
Yeah.
see the value in other people, and we can actually dismiss the person, or, it's almost like a disdain. It's like, oh, I just don't like them, and not realize why. And so that could be someone in the company too. Say, salespeople, maybe some of them have that more star motivator because they need to be out there, be seen, but it doesn't have to be like extreme, right? So there's always that scale.
Yeah.
But if I don't see it as important, then I don't want to interact with them. And if I'm an entrepreneur and don't have at least some of it, and see, unless I'm out there being seen, how am I going to grow my business? So
Mm-hmm.
training it to see what's the value in it. And, we go to the extreme examples, but, not everyone wants to be in social media and, the star of YouTube or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And the star, if he doesn't get fed, meaning that if he doesn't get recognized for all the effort that he or she makes, then the motivation will just deflate, right? They need to be recognized. If they're like high energy and all that, then they want to be acknowledged. They want to be, and by doing the system you're proposing, then you put some acknowledgement towards that. You're If somebody needs to be a star, well, you're going to help them elevate themselves, I imagine, so that they are feeling that what they're doing makes a difference, right?
Absolutely. So, that respect for what they're doing, and the acknowledgement, and I think that's a big piece, right? Is it's the acknowledgement of what's important to people, and
Yeah.
that communication, that when we get busy, we just kind of forget and let it go. But if
Mm.
we know, and continue to focus on that, and allow our true selves, because the way I look at it is, what has shifted over time too is that we bring all of ourselves to everything we do. We don't compartmentalize like we used to. This is home, this is work, and especially with COVID, and our lives are kind of all together now. And so it's not just business, it's your personal. And the more that we can make sure that those things are being taken care of for ourselves, all parts of our life are going to be much happier and successful.
Mm. Wonderful. So how can people contact you, or do you have anything to offer so people can know if they would like to work with you? So how does that work?
And so I have a calendar, and if you have questions, because this is probably new to most people and kind of a different way of looking at things.
Yeah, it's
So,
interesting.
yeah, so if you have some specific questions about your organization or yourself, and how it might be used, and that's the conversation we can have. So
Mm.
I'm offering a 30-minute clarity call to see, and if I can't support you, I can always maybe give you some other resources that can help you with what your needs are.
Oh, wonderful. So we'll put that in the chat. So for those that are listening, and just look in the comment, we'll put that in later, because we're on the chat now. We can put it right away, but it will be there today. And if you're watching on YouTube, well, just subscribe, like, and it's going to be in the see more just below. So that's what I'd like to do. So thank you so much, Robyn. It was amazing for me also. Like, I knew what you're doing, but the description of what you brought with the motivator and all that. I think that's super awesome, like the way of seeing that. And I wouldn't mind having a map done too, just to see what are my motivators and I kind of know what's important to me, but it's good to have a confirmation of what's going on and how that works.
Mm-hmm.
So just stay there, Robyn. I'll be right back with you. So hello, everyone. So that was an awesome talk with Robyn. And next week, we're going to have Adrian Stark to come to us, the great Adrian Stark. And his talk will be about, our topic of chat will be about courage to create opportunities in time of uncertainty. And we know that we've been living in a lot of uncertainty time the last couple of years. People go in business, go out of business, thrive, fail. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And how are we able to survive in that and create opportunities? So that's what we'll be talking with Adrian Stark next week. So we'll be here at noon, and so look up for that videos. And until next time, I say goodbye, be kind to one another, and have a fabulous week. Goodbye.